September 28, 2020. I started the journey down the rabbit hole known as gacha games. Genshin Impact had just been released, and I knew absolutely nothing about what gachas were, aside from a Giguk video. Someone tweeted a pic of Mona and said the game was fun, so of course, being a newly born weeb, I took the bait and downloaded the game on PlayStation. It was free. What harm could there be? Well, time passed, and after a few months I spent around $600 on Genshin. I had already had a habit of putting too much money in games like Destiny, Fortnite, and Overwatch, so Genshin was the perfect game to suck my wallet dry. The open world was fun, it seemed to go on forever, and it never felt like I was going to run out of things to do. It was a Breath of the Wild clone for sure, but that doesn't mean I wasn't living it up. The characters were unique, and Lisa in particular had a wonderful voice. The story was slow at first despite throwing a million quests my way, but after fighting Dvalin, I was officially all in. The one part of the game that was truly new for me was the gacha itself. Genshin was my first gacha, and so my knowledge of how the systems worked and how horrible the microtransactions were played right into MiHoYo's hands. As the enjoyment of the game increased, so did my attention to the gacha system. Eventually, I bit the bullet and started spending money. In terms of luck, I can say that I was pretty lucky. I got a 5-star on the discount banner and Venti with free polls from pre-registration. I then began my money-spending downfall. Klee was released and I was over half pity on both the standard and event banners, so it was a calculated one-time risk for me. I got Klee and I got Jean, with Aquila Favonia on the standard banner. Luck was on my side, and it continued to be for the next several banners. I got Venti, Klee, Zhongli, and 3 Albedos before losing a 50-50 on Hu Tao. The math of that is 1 of 64 or 1.6 chance, so I would say my money was incredibly well spent. After losing the 50-50 on Hu Tao, I did a single pull after and got her right then. I then also got Child on his rerun banner, going for Rosaria, and eventually lost 50-50 on Kazuha. A true heartbreaker, by the way. I did get the guaranteed Raiden Shogun, which was cool, but I have yet to build her. Or Sarah, or Aloy, or Klee, or Child, and many other characters. Genshin is an awesome open world filled with deep lore and interesting characters, but is it actually fun? Now, the game has been out for a year and 1 month, and I can safely say that if you are a brand new player, the game is fun. The novelty of getting 1,000,000 quests and 3 huge regions to explore is awesome, and anyone who would try to say otherwise is a fool. However, if you've been playing since day 1, or even worse, you started in the beta, this game has most likely bored you to death. The only people still playing Genshin are whales, content creators, and character simps. You can certainly still find enjoyment in the game, and there is obviously still a huge market for this game. People want Genshin to succeed because they see the potential in it. As I write this script, I see more and more the connection between Genshin and Destiny 1. Destiny had a year of drought, where after a huge successful update in the Taken King, there was no new meaningful content for an entire year, and once players got their hands on Rise of Iron, the fun only lasted a month or two. Genshin released Dragonspine in December of 2020 to great reception. Rumors leaked and posed Inazuma, the new island, for 1.4 or 1.5, only a few months away. Then it was 1.6, and then it was 1.7, which turned into 2.0. The hype for this unrelenting stream of content was killed after 7 months of waiting. Inazuma finally came, and albeit to a great reception, but it wasn't enough. I've been watching Mtashed since the good old Destiny 1 days, and he has been very vocal about his distaste for the current state of the game. The game has been feeling shallow, and the endgame has been lacking since release.
Doing chests and quests here, incredible. Doing chests and quests here, incredible. There's a big lull, and then we got chests and quests here, and I was like, okay, nice. Like, wow. But even when Dragonspine was releasing, I was like, all right, are people going to like chests and quests that much? Like, are people going to have that much fun? But even I was surprised. I did all the chests here, and I was like, okay, fun. Then we had to wait an eternity. And then these islands came out, and it did a bunch of chests and quests, chests and quests, chests and quests. We got this one, chests and quests, and this and chests and quests. And now we're on the last one here, and I'm like, oh, how many more chests do I gotta open?
As a former Destiny player myself, I can easily understand the struggle that Genshin players have been facing lately. Even the 6 islands of Inazuma weren't enough to satiate the players of this rabid, hungry community. How can so much content not be enough for these players? What do they actually expect from us? The answer is simple, and the people at MiHoYo have actually made a game already that utilizes this principle of endgame content. It's called Honkai Impact 3rd.
Captain on bridge.
Honkai Impact is a more simple game in terms of gameplay. You have a team of 3 instead of a team of 4, and missions are simple 1 or 2 room levels. The combat doesn't rely on elemental combinations, instead you swap characters using QuickTime events, which are triggered by various abilities or attacks. The simplest way to compare it would probably be Bayonetta on the ground, aside from post-Honkai Odyssey, but I'll get to that later. Honkai has a catalog of content that seems to me almost too much to wrap my brain around, and the best part about it is the endgame. Genshin Impact has the Spiral Abyss, which is one piece of endgame content, and that is it. There is nothing else in the game except the dummy guy on Inazuma that doesn't die that can actually test your characters, but also your skill. Let's take a peek over at Honkai. Now, I started playing Honkai on the anniversary of Genshin just to spite them, but I ended up enjoying myself. I'm level 54 at the time of this recording, and there are probably things I haven't even unlocked yet. That said, what I have available to me is astounding. Once you hit level 50, which for Genshin players is probably equivalent to about AR 40 or so, you have access to several endgame pieces of content. I will now list them. Q Singularis, the Spiral Abyss of Honkai Impact. Q Singularis is a challenge stage where your team is put in and must defeat waves of enemies and pass through 7 floors. Once you beat the 7 floors, you can then enter the Abyss. The Abyss is a 5-floor, harder version of the initial 7-floor challenge. These 5 floors have harder enemies and environmental factors that can also deal significant damage or debuffs to your team. Once you have beat the 5-floor challenge, you are given a score. That's right. It's a competitive game mode. Your score, calculated by how quickly you defeat the 5th and final floor, determines your placement in the group that you are assigned. If you are in the upper group, you will be moved to a higher bracket with other players that were promoted. If you do not complete or fail to score highly, you will move down to the lower bracket. Certain players in the middle can retain their status without going up or down. Something as simple as adding this competitive aspect that gives rewards based on skill and character power would elevate the Spiral Abyss in Genshin to something I would actually participate in. Memorial Arena. The Boss Gauntlet. Memorial Arena is a challenge where your team must defeat harder versions of bosses from story chapters or events. You must beat the bosses 5 times to get the maximum reward, and each time you beat it, it gets harder. You can only challenge a boss 4 times a day, so manage your attempts carefully. What's more is that once you enter the battle, you cannot use the character's weapons or stigmata, equivalent to artifacts, in other boss challenges. Yes, there are 2 bosses for each week, so you need to be able to defeat both bosses with different teams, and you can't share any equipment between characters. You need to have 6 characters that can team up and beat 2 bosses 5 times each. You also get a score that will give you more rewards if you are in the higher percentage of players. This kind of challenge could be added to weekly bosses like Child or Dvalin to great effect and would surely be well received. Universal Mirage. This one is not quite a true challenge, but the grind is real. Mirage is where you'll be grinding for materials that help pay for special weapons and the best stigmata. You can challenge once a day, and you have to choose which reward you want, so don't go in before planning out what currency you want to use. These stages are equal in difficulty to the Noblesse dungeon in Genshin, so not hard, just annoying. The thing that makes this grind fun is that you can only do it once a day. The reason this is not the most insane grind ever is that stigmata stats are not random rolls like artifacts, so once you have them, you just have to upgrade them. Elysian Realm. The newest challenge, Elysian Realm, was released in August of 2021. This new challenge is Honkai's version of a roguelike. You choose one character, you get one or two supports that have an ability they can use every 40 or 60 seconds, and you have to beat several floors without dying. Each time you defeat a floor, you get an extra buff based on the room you chose. The bosses at the end also have a time limit, so you can't just be good at dodging and expect to win. You actually have to deal damage. I've been at this new challenge for the last week, and I haven't beat the easiest version with my best character. The good news is, the consolation prize was enough for me to get the new character Midnight Absinthe that was just released on the 21st of October. So not even winning can give you enough currency to get a whole character. Co-op Raid. There is also a co-op endgame activity that gives exclusive weapons on your first clear. I have 3 of them, and there are 5 more for me to collect. The raid is a 6-stage challenge where you have to use 6 different characters, and the members of your team can't also use the same character in the same stage, so you have to choose which characters to use a tad carefully. Now, Destiny players may hear raid and co-op and be turned away because they don't have 6 people that are free to do this. The best part is, it's match-made, so you don't even have to worry. Sim Battle. Similar to Memorial Arena, sim battles are boss fights. The difference is that you are competing between your armada, which is like a clan or guild. The other special trick here is that you are using trial characters, characters you may not have that are also fully leveled and upgraded to their max potential, so everyone can be on an even playing field regardless of the pay-to-win status. This is a fun challenge that really tests your skill and not your wallet. This could be easily added to Genshin, but they would have to add clans first. Okay, so there are 6 hardcore endgame activities that I've unlocked. That must be a lot of resin, right? No, it's literally all resin or stamina free. You can challenge them as many times as they let you, and it doesn't impede on your ability to play the rest of the game. Not to mention, most of these challenges can either be played once a day, 3 times a day, or an unlimited number of times. When you 36-star the Spiral Abyss, you're done until it resets, which is like every 3 weeks. At least it doesn't cost resin, right? So Genshin doesn't have 6 endgame activities, but there is an amazing open world with thousands of chests, fun puzzles, and daily activities to complete. Honkai doesn't have that, right? It's just a beat-em-up, right? Sorry. Honkai also has open world activities to choose from that have their own separate stories, quests, and daily activities. For new players, you are able to play all 3 at the same time, which was very stamina draining, but after a while you are only given access to 1 a week. This is a little disappointing, but there's an event going on right now that is also an open world, and the rewards for this event are amazing. Not to mention the main game also has daily activities similar to ley lines, which can be done with a single click. After you 3-star the level for the first time, you can auto-complete it every day. What about Hangouts? Those are fun. Does Honkai have that? Yes! Honkai has Chronicles, which are long-form stories tailored to several characters in the cast. They aren't cute little dating sims with multiple endings, but you can start to understand some of the cooler characters in the game. You also get fragments after every stage you beat, which can be used to unlock or upgrade those characters. There are also expeditions, which you can do to unlock more fragments for some characters. Are those expeditions like the ones in Genshin? Good question. No. Honkai has errands, which come from the player housing aspect of the game, which is called the dorm. Now, I will say in Genshin's defense that the Serenity Pot is much better in terms of customization and overall variety than the dorms, but it doesn't provide as many rewards as the dorms do. The dorm is capable of passively storing excess stamina when you're at cap, so you don't have to constantly manage your stamina like you do with resin, and it also gives you money. I would say that the dorm is probably the most neglected part of the game and doesn't really add anything, unlike the teapot, but it does have errands which can give you currency used to buy stuff for the main game, and you don't have to chop down trees for 3 hours. As I stated earlier, I've been very lucky with the money I spent. I have 11 5-star characters and 2 5-star weapons in Genshin Impact. It costs roughly $400 to guarantee a 5-star character in the absolute worst-case scenario, so having only spent $600, that's quite the feat. So how does the gacha system compare to Honkai? In Genshin, you get a 50-50 pity system that, in the worst possible outcome, makes you pull 180 times for a total of 28,800 Primo Gems. At a cost of $100 for 6,480, given you have no first-time bonus, it will cost you $444 to guarantee a 5-star character. In Honkai, to guarantee an event character, you only have to pull 100 times for a total of 28,000 crystals. Without a top-up bonus, it costs $100 for 6,600 crystals, so a running price of $424, so you save $20. But in Genshin, you could get it at 90 pulls, winning the 50-50, which would save you $222. All in all, there's a little less BS in the Honkai impact system, but you can save a lot of money in Genshin. The weapon banners are a trap in Genshin, and the new pity system doesn't really make them any better, so I will say that the systems in Honkai are better. Overall, it's a gacha game, so unless you actually have the disposable income to throw at a game like this, or are making content regularly and can write it off as a business expense, don't spend crazy amounts of money on gacha games. Honestly, if it's a hobby and you budget yourself, it's fine, just don't be stupid. Raz, it sounds like you don't actually like Genshin at all. As much as that may be true, it really isn't. I have spent an appalling amount of time in Genshin and truly have enjoyed about 80% of my time in the game. My biggest concession to Genshin is that I actually care about the main story. Genshin has more unskippable dialogue, so I was eventually forced to read the dialogue or suffer an eternity of clicking X on my controller. That said, the story is interesting and the characters actually have complex relationships with each other. I'm still new to Honkai, but from what I can gather, the story is unnecessarily complicated, and with there being multiple versions of each character, I've given up entirely on trying to understand it. I might read the manga, though, since it's on Crunchyroll. All in all, Genshin has been fun, but right now it's severely lacking in content and can't even come close to its older sister, Honkai Impact 3rd. Hopefully Genshin can do something to improve its endgame or even just add to it. But until then, I think I'll be retiring Genshin from my gacha grind. I will be playing the event with Albedo's new sword, and I definitely will wish for Sino when Sumeru drops, but other than that, I'm out.